The valley of Eldoria was a place woven from dreams and dappled sunlight, where ancient trees with bark like wrinkled skin touched the sky, and the river Silver Mist sang a constant soothing tune as it tumbled over smooth, moon-white stones. It was a valley cradled by mountains that slept under quilts of perpetual mist, their peaks rarely glimpsed, whispered about only in fireside tales. Here, magic wasn't a spectacle, but the very breath of the world, the way the moss glowed faintly on the north side of every stone, the quiet hum of the earth beneath bare feet, the knowing glance of a fox in the twilight. Elara knew this magic intimately. Her home, a small cottage nestled on the cusp of the Whispering Woods, was built from Eldoria's own timber and stone, its roof a shingle of dried river reeds that smelled of sunshine and sweet grass. She was a child of the valley, with eyes the color of winter violets and hair like spun moonlight, always a little tangled with fallen leaves or pine needles. Most days, Elara could be found wandering the edges of the woods, her small hands tracing the patterns on tree trunks, her ears attuned to the rustle of unseen creatures, the whisper of the wind through the leaves that always seemed to carry secrets. But lately, the whispers were different. It began subtly, a faint, almost imperceptible sound carried on the Silver Mist song. At first, Elara thought it was merely the wind playing tricks, or the sigh of the old willow by the river bend. It was like a melody half-remembered, a word on the tip of her tongue, just out of reach. It wasn't the usual rustle of the woods, nor the familiar chirping of the dusk-song crickets. This was something else. It felt older, deeper, tall. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the western mountains, painting the sky in hues of apricot and amethyst, Elara sat on her favorite moss-covered rock, watching the fireflies begin their slow, blinking dance. The air was cool and sweet, scented with pine and damp earth. That's when it came again, clearer this time. A low, resonant hum, like a distant bell, yet softer, interwoven with a series of tiny, almost vocal sounds. It wasn't a language she knew, yet it felt like one she should know, deep in her bones. I-I-S-P-E-R-O-8. It seemed to brush against her mind, a fleeting touch, leaving a ripple of curiosity in its wake. She tilted her head, trying to pinpoint its source. It wasn't coming from the river, nor the trees immediately around her. It seemed to emanate from deeper within the Whispering Woods, an area she usually only ventured into with her grandmother Lyra. "Are you hearing things, little sprout?" Lyra's voice, warm and raspy like autumn leaves, broke the spell. She emerged from the cottage, a wicker basket laden with freshly picked nightshade berries in one hand, her silver hair braided with wildflowers. Lyra's eyes, the color of ancient amber, held a knowing twinkle that seemed to see straight into the heart of things. Elara shook her head, though a faint blush crept into her cheeks. "Just the wind, grandmother. It sounds different tonight." Lyra set the basket down and sat beside Elara, her gaze sweeping over the valley, then settling on the darker, denser part of the woods. A thoughtful frown creased her brow. "The wind always has a story to tell, child, but sometimes it carries more than just stories." She paused, her hand gently stroking Elara's moonlit hair. "What kind of different?" Elara struggled to articulate it. "It's like a song, but not quite. Like someone trying to speak without words. And it feels very old. Older than the oldest trees." She looked up at Lyra, her violet eyes wide. "Can you hear it, grandmother?" Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, her brow furrowed in concentration. She sat perfectly still, a statue carved from wisdom and starlight, listening. The only sounds were the distant hoot of an owl, the gentle murmur of the Silver Mist, and the symphony of crickets. Then a subtle shift in her expression. A faint tightening around her lips, a slight nod. "Yes," Lyra said softly, her voice barely above a whisper itself. "I hear it. It is faint, almost a memory of a sound, but it is there." She opened her eyes, and they held a depth Elara had rarely seen, a hint of something long past, yet present. "This is not the wind, Elara, not in the way we usually speak of it." Elara's heart quickened. "What is it then?" Lyra sighed, a sound like leaves rustling. "The world is ancient, little sprout, far older than you or I, older than the stories told around the hearth, and in its deep slumber it sometimes dreams, and its dreams sometimes whisper." She picked up a smooth gray river stone and turned it over in her palm. There are tales, very old tales, of the Elden voices. The first sounds woven into the fabric of the world. They say these voices were trapped, or perhaps merely fell silent, when the first sun set and the moons claimed the night. Elara leaned closer, captivated. Lyra's stories were always magical, but this one felt different, more immediate. Trapped? Where? Ah, that is the mystery, isn't it? Lyra's gaze drifted back to the dark heart of the Whispering Woods. Some say they are trapped within the very stones of the mountains, others within the roots of the Eldenwood trees, the ancient ones that stand taller than any other, deep in the forest. And some believe they are merely waiting, sleeping, until the world is ready to hear them again. She turned to Elara, her eyes sparkling. It has been many, many years since I've heard anything akin to this, not since I was a girl, barely older than you. You heard it too? Elara gasped. Lyra nodded slowly. Once. It was a faint echo then, a ghost of a sound. It led me to the old stone circle, deep in the Elderwood. But it faded before I could truly understand it. It was a promise, more than a voice. She squeezed Elara's hand. But this feels stronger, more insistent. Over the next few days, the whispering grew. It wasn't loud, never jarring, but it was omnipresent, a gentle tugging at Elara's awareness. It was a soft, melodious current beneath all other sounds, like a river flowing beneath the earth. Sometimes it felt like a question, other times like an invitation. It was a complex weave of tones and almost words, forming patterns that seemed to speak directly to her spirit. She tried to draw it, to capture its essence. Her charcoal sketches filled with swirling lines and dots, patterns that reminded her of flowing water and starlight. She tried to hum it, but the melody was too ethereal, too shifting to be held by her voice. It was a language of feeling, not of sound. Lyra watched her, her silent observations keen. She saw the way Elara's head would cock to one side, the way her violet eyes would gaze into the middle distance, lost in the intricate soundscape. She saw the quiet yearning in her granddaughter's face. It calls to you, doesn't it? Lyra asked one afternoon, finding Elara sitting by the window, her hands still with a half-finished embroidery. Elara nodded, not looking away from the vibrant green of the forest. Yes, grandmother. It feels like it knows me, and it wants me to know something. And what does it want you to know? I don't know, Elara confessed, a touch of frustration in her voice. It's like trying to remember a dream just as you wake up. The feeling is there, but the words are gone. But it points. It always points deeper into the woods, towards the Eldenwood. Lyra hummed softly. The Eldenwood is a sacred place, Elara. The oldest trees in the valley live there. They say their roots reach down to the very heart of the world, and their branches touch the stars. It is a place of powerful magic, and sometimes powerful silence. And sometimes, she added, her voice dropping, powerful awakenings. The thought of venturing deep into the Eldenwood alone made a shiver run down Elara's spine, but it was a shiver of anticipation, not fear. The whispering wasn't frightening. It was alluring, like the promise of a hidden spring on a hot day. That night, as Elara lay in her small bed, the window open to the cool night air, the whispering was clearer than ever. It wove itself into the symphony of the night, a silver thread in a tapestry of sound. It was distinct now, a series of soft resonant tones that seemed to pulse with a gentle rhythm. It felt like a heartbeat, the heartbeat of the world itself. And then, she heard a word. Not in a human tongue, but in the language of the whispering itself. A single resonant sound that bloomed in her mind like a rare night flower. Enchanting. And lie. Elara sat bolt upright in bed, her heart thrumming. The word wasn't spoken, but felt, understood instantly. It was a clear, undeniable instruction. Galiomans, Gilkermazik, Penden. Norma Tenyanimanti. Way. She crept out of bed, her bare feet silent on the cool wooden floor. She found Lyra sitting by the dying embers of the hearth, a cup of steaming herb tea in her hands, her gaze fixed on the shadows that danced on the walls. Grandmother, Elara whispered. Lyra turned, her eyes already knowing. It spoke to you, didn't it? Elara nodded, her voice hushed with wonder. It said, "Seek." Lyra smiled, a slow, knowing smile that softened the lines around her eyes. "Then it is time, little sprout. The Elden voices have chosen their listener." Elara felt a thrill, a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Chosen me? But why?" "Perhaps because you are open to their song," Lyra mused. "Perhaps because your heart beats in rhythm with the valley's own. Not all can hear them, Elara. Not all are meant to, but those who are have a purpose." Lyra rose and walked to a small carved wooden chest in the corner. She opened it, revealing a lining of soft velvet and a collection of ancient cherished objects. She carefully selected a small silver locket, intricately carved with the image of a budding leaf and a crescent moon. "This belonged to my grandmother and her grandmother before her," Lyra explained, holding it out to Elara. "It is not just a piece of silver. It holds a spark of the valley's own protective magic. It will keep you safe from stray shadows and guide you true when the path seems lost." Elara took the locket. It was cool against her palm, yet pulsed with a faint, comforting warmth. She felt the ancient magic within it, a deep, quiet strength. "You mean I should go?" Elara asked, her voice barely a whisper. "The voices call," Lyra said, her gaze steady. "To ignore such a call is to deny a part of yourself, and to deny a gift the world offers. But you must be mindful, Elara. The Eldenwood is a place of deep magic. It is not dangerous in itself, but it asks for respect." Elara felt a swell of courage bloom in her chest. "I will, grandmother." Tot. Lyra led her to the small pantry and packed a satchel with a small loaf of berry bread, a flask of fresh spring water, and a pouch of dried elderberries for energy. She also placed a small polished stone, smooth and gray, in Elara's hand. "This is a river stone from the Silver Mist. It knows the way home always. Hold it close if you feel lost." As dawn began to paint the sky with soft streaks of rose and gold, Elara stood at the edge of the whispering woods, her small satchel slung over her shoulder, the silver locket resting against her chest. The air was cool and crisp, and the morning mist still clung to the branches of the closest trees. "Be safe, little sprout," Lyra said, her voice filled with love and quiet pride. "And listen well. The world has much to tell you." Elara nodded, her heart full. She turned and stepped into the shadowy embrace of the woods. The path was faint at first, barely a deer track winding between the younger trees. But the whispering, which had been a gentle hum back at the cottage, grew clearer here. It was like a compass, pulling her gently, insistently, deeper into the forest. It wasn't a single sound anymore, but a chorus, a complex flowing harmony of tones, clicks, and almost words that seemed to resonate within her very bones. The trees grew taller here, their branches intertwining overhead to form a living cathedral ceiling, dappled with slivers of sunlight. The air grew cooler, infused with the scent of rich earth, damp moss, and something else, something ancient and sweet, like forgotten memories. Giant ferns unfurled their fronds, reaching out like welcoming hands. Strange, bioluminescent fungi glowed softly on fallen logs, casting an ethereal light on the forest floor. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to come alive in subtle ways. Leaves shimmered with colors she'd never seen before, iridescent blues, deep purples, and greens that pulsed with an inner light. Tiny, jewel-toned birds flitted between branches, their songs harmonizing with the whispering, as if they too heard its call. The ground beneath her feet was a soft carpet of moss and fallen leaves, silent and yielding. Elara felt no fear, only a profound sense of wonder and belonging. The locket around her neck hummed faintly, a reassuring presence. The river stone in her pocket felt warm. She walked for what felt like hours, guided solely by the ever-strengthening whispers. They ebbed and flowed, sometimes a rushing torrent of unintelligible sound, sometimes a single, clear note that resonated deep within her chest. Then the trees began to change. These were the Eldenwood trees Lyra had spoken of. Their trunks were impossibly wide, their bark gnarled and textured like ancient tapestries, draped with glowing moss and vines that spiraled towards the unseen sky. Their branches were so vast they created perpetual twilight on the forest floor, a sacred gloom broken only by shafts of golden light that pierced through the canopy like divine spotlights. The air here was thick with magic, a palpable hum that vibrated on her skin. The whispering was no longer distant, It was all around her, a symphony of ancient voices, a chorus of timeless secrets. It felt like the forest itself was speaking, breathing, dreaming. And then, through a veil of hanging moss and shimmering ferns, she saw it. A clearing. But not just any clearing. In its center stood a colossal tree, so vast it seemed to hold up the sky itself. Its trunk was wider than a small house, its roots snaked across the ground like sleeping leviathans, covered in luminescent moss that pulsed with a gentle rhythmic light. Its leaves were a deep emerald green, and they shimmered with every breath of the magical air. Around the base of this magnificent tree, arranged in a perfect moss-covered circle, were standing stones. Not carved or shaped by human hands, but natural obelisks of dark, unblemished rock, each one taller than Elara herself, each one radiating a faint internal glow. They hummed with a quiet power, echoing the whispers that now filled the air, clear and strong, a language of light and sound and ancient wisdom. This was it. The heart of the Eldenwood. The source of the whispering. Elara stepped into the clearing, her breath catching in her throat. The whispering intensified, washing over her, enveloping her. It wasn't just sounds anymore. It was images, feelings, fragments of memories that weren't her own, swirling around her. She saw fleeting glimpses of a world long past, towering spires of crystal, creatures of pure light, a sky filled with multiple moons. The air shimmered. The moss on the standing stones pulsed faster. And from the very center of the giant tree, from a hollow in its ancient bark, a soft, ethereal light began to bloom, growing brighter with every heartbeat. Elara felt an irresistible pull, a profound sense of destiny. She walked towards the light, towards the ancient tree, towards the heart of the whispering, ready to receive whatever wisdom it held. The whispering was no longer just a sound. It was an invitation, a revelation, a doorway opening into a world she was only just beginning to comprehend. Her feet, bare and soft against the moss, moved as if guided by an unseen current. The light pulsed, a living heart of pure liquid gold, radiating warmth that chased away the chill of the forest night. As she drew closer, the whispering intensified, no longer a jumble of sounds, but a symphony of voices, ancient and melodic, weaving together tales of starlight and root, of ages past and futures yet unwritten. The air shimmered, thick with an energy that tingled on her skin, raising goosebumps not of fear, but of profound awe. The hollow in the bark was not a simple opening. It was a doorway woven from light itself, a swirling vortex of amber and emerald, framed by the gnarled silvered wood of the elderwood. Intricate patterns like forgotten runes pulsed faintly across the tree's surface, vibrating with the energy pouring from within. She reached out a hesitant hand, expecting to touch rough bark, but her fingers passed through the shimmering light as if it were mist. A gentle suction like a sigh of wind drew her forward. There was no resistance, no barrier, only an invitation. She stepped through, and the world spun for a moment, not in a dizzying whirl, but in a gentle kaleidoscopic dance of colors. The scent of damp earth and ancient wood was replaced by something else entirely, a fragrance like dew-kissed blossoms mingled with ozone and distant starlight. When her feet found purchase again, she stood within a space that defied all logic. She was no longer in a hollow, but in a vast, luminous chamber, shaped like the inside of a colossal geode. The walls were not bark, but shimmering, translucent layers of what looked like solidified light, streaked with veins of emerald, sapphire, and amethyst. From the ceiling, which arched so high it seemed to touch the night sky itself, descended glowing filaments, like thousands of luminous roots, dripping with soft, warm light that pooled on the floor. This floor was a tapestry of mosses and bioluminescent fungi, soft and springy underfoot, dotted with crystals that pulsed with an inner radiance. In the very center of this chamber stood not a single tree, but a grove. 7 trees, slender and elegant, with bark like polished silver and leaves that glowed with an inner moonlight, spiraled upwards, their branches intertwining to form a living canopy. They were smaller than the elderwood, yet held an undeniable majesty. And at the heart of this grove, where the 7 trees met, stood a single, luminous pool. The water in the pool glowed with the same liquid gold light she had seen from afar, swirling slowly, its surface reflecting the ethereal beauty of the chamber. This was the Heartwood Grove, the true core of the Elderwood, a place of immense power and forgotten memory. The whispering was deafening here, but no longer overwhelming. It was a chorus, each voice distinct, yet harmonizing perfectly. It was the song of the world itself, the collective consciousness of every root, every leaf, every drop of dew, every living creature that had ever drawn breath under the elderwood's vast shadow. Elara felt it resonate deep within her own bones, a vibration that spoke of belonging, of ancient lineage, of a purpose awakening. As she gazed at the luminous pool, the light within it began to gather, coalescing, not into a solid form, but into an ethereal presence. It shimmered, taking on the vague outline of a figure, tall and graceful, woven from pure starlight and moonbeams. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, were twin points of ancient, serene wisdom, reflecting the entire cosmos. It had no mouth, yet a voice, clear as a mountain spring and resonant as a deep forest bell, filled the chamber, speaking not with sound waves, but directly into Elara's mind. "Welcome, child of the Whispering Lands," the voice resonated, gentle yet profound. "We have awaited your arrival." Elara found her own voice, a mere whisper in comparison. Who are you?" "We are the elder spirits, the collective memory and consciousness of the Elderwood. We are the guardians of this heart, the keepers of the land's deepest magic. And we are the whisper that has called to you since your first step into these ancient woods." A profound sense of wonder and humility washed over Elara. You called me? Why?" The ethereal figure shimmered, and images began to bloom within the luminous pool, reflecting the words of the elder spirits. They were visions, vivid and heartbreaking. She saw lands once vibrant, now gray and barren. Rivers once teeming with life, now choked with shadow. Forests where trees stood skeletal, their leaves fallen, their magic drained. She saw the faces of the people, gaunt and fearful, their laughter muted, their hope dwindling. "The heart of the world falters, Elara," the elder spirit's voice continued, laden with sorrow. "The wellspring of Ethel, the source of all life and magic in these lands, runs dry. A shadow, cold and insatiable, has fallen upon it, siphoning its essence, turning life to dust, and hope to ash." Elara watched in horror as the images in the pool showed a vast, swirling vortex of inky blackness, like a wound on the very fabric of the world, slowly devouring a radiant, crystalline spring. "The wellspring of Ethel. I've heard tales, but I thought it was just a legend." "No legend, child, but the very breath of this realm, and its breath grows shallow. For generations the children of the Whispering Lands have been attuned to its song, to the subtle ebb and flow of magic. You, Elara, carry a deeper resonance than most." "Chosen for what?" Elara asked, her voice trembling, a mix of fear and exhilarating purpose. "What can I do? The shadow that feeds upon the wellspring is ancient and powerful, born of forgotten malice and sustained by despair. It cannot be fought with blade or fire, for it feeds on conflict, on fear. It can only be countered with purity of spirit, with unwavering hope, and with the rekindling of the land's own dormant light." The images in the pool shifted again. Now, instead of desolation, Elara saw fleeting glimpses of radiant, glowing fragments, scattered across the dying lands. They looked like shards of brilliant starlight, pulsing with soft energy. "Across the Whispering Lands, there lie 7 heart seeds," the elder spirit revealed. "Fragments of the wellspring's own essence, cast forth into the world in ancient times to anchor the land's magic. Each heart seed resonates with a different aspect of life: courage, compassion, creativity, resilience, wisdom, harmony, and joy. As the gloom consumes the wellspring, these heart seeds have also begun to dim, their light fading, their magic retreating into slumber. And I need to find them." "Panin," Elara intuited, her mind racing. "Yes, child, you must embark on a sacred quest to awaken the 7 heart seeds. Each one, when fully reawakened, will send a pulse of pure magic back to the wellspring, weakening the gloom's hold. Only when all 7 are returned to their full radiance can the wellspring truly heal, and the magic flow freely once more." "But how do I awaken them?" she pressed. "What do I do?" "Each heart seed requires a true act of its nature to be awakened. The seed of courage will glow brightest when a selfless act of bravery is performed in its presence. The seed of compassion, when empathy and kindness overcome prejudice. The seed of creativity, when new beauty is brought forth from barrenness. You will know when the time is right, Ilara. Your heart, attuned to the land, will guide you. A new image bloomed in the pool. A map, not drawn on parchment, but shimmering with silver lines and glowing points. It was a map of the Whispering Lands, vast and intricate, showing mountains, rivers, ancient ruins, and hidden glades. 7 distinct points on the map pulsed faintly, like distant stars. The first heart seed lies hidden in the crystal caves of Eridor, the elder spirit indicated, a point on the map glowing brighter. It is the seed of resilience, protected by ancient echoes and shadowed by the gloom's advance. You must seek it out, Ilara, and prove your spirit's strength. Ilara felt a thrill, a deep-seated excitement mingled with a healthy dose of fear. This was more than she could have ever imagined. Her simple yearning for the lost magic had led her to the heart of the world's peril. You will not go alone, Ilara. The elder spirit's voice softened slightly. The Elderwood has watched over you, has seen your heart, and it has prepared a companion for your journey. From the shimmering roots above, a single glowing orb of light detached itself, drifting slowly downwards. It was about the size of Ilara's fist, pulsing with a gentle, warm luminescence. As it descended, it began to change, elongating, forming delicate wings, then a slender body, and finally, a tiny iridescent head with large, knowing eyes. It hovered before her, a creature of pure light, reminiscent of a firefly, but far more intricate and intelligent. What is it? Ilara whispered, captivated. This is Lumen, a spirit of the Elderwood's own light. Lumen will be your guide, your protector, and your friend. It can illuminate your path through darkness, sense the presence of the heart seeds, and communicate with the spirits of the land. Its light is a beacon against the gloom, for the gloom cannot tolerate pure light. Your light. Lumen sipped forward, circling Ilara's head once, emitting a soft bell-like chime that seemed to be a greeting. Ilara reached out a finger, and Lumen gently bumped against it, a surprising warmth emanating from its tiny body. Thank you, Ilara said, looking between Lumen and the shimmering elder spirit. Thank you for trusting me with this. The trust is mutual, child. Your journey will be perilous. The gloom will sense your purpose and seek to hinder you. It will whisper doubts, sow fears, and create illusions. But remember this, your greatest weapon is the light within your own heart. Never let it dim. Never let it dim. The elder spirit paused, its luminous form shimmering, seeming to draw back into the golden pool. The way out is the same as the way in. Follow Lumen. It will guide you from the Elderwood and set you on the path to Eridor. Go, Ilara. The Whispering Lands await their healing. With a final profound resonance, the elder spirit's presence receded, its form dissolving back into the swirling golden light of the pool. The chorus of whispers in the chamber softened, becoming a gentle hum, a farewell, and a blessing. Lumen, meanwhile, sipped around Ilara once more, then drifted purposefully towards one of the shimmering walls of the chamber. As it neared, the translucent wall rippled, opening like a curtain of light. Beyond it, Ilara could see the familiar, star-dusted darkness of the forest night. Taking a deep breath, Ilara felt a surge of resolve. The weight of the world's peril rested on her young shoulders, but it was not a crushing weight. It was a weight of purpose, a calling that resonated with every fiber of her being. She no longer felt like a lost girl, yearning for something she couldn't name. She was Ilara, chosen of the Elderwood, seeker of the heart seeds, and hope for the Whispering Lands. All right, Lumen, she said, her voice firm and clear, a new strength in its tone. Show me the way. Lumen chimed brightly, a sound of pure joy, and darted through the shimmering opening. Ilara followed, stepping out of the luminous heartwood grove and back into the cool, dark embrace of the Elderwood forest. The ancient tree, immense and silent, stood sentinel behind her, its hollow now just a dark recess in the bark. The light within completely vanished. It was as if the entrance had never been there, a secret revealed only to her. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Overhead the stars glittered with extraordinary brilliance, their light seeming to wink down at her, urging her onward. Lumen danced ahead, a tiny, vibrant star leading the way. Its light cast soft, shifting shadows on the forest floor, illuminating the path with a gentle, ethereal glow. They moved through the ancient woods, past towering trees whose branches seemed to whisper encouragement, past moss-covered stones that felt warm beneath Alara's bare feet. Lumen navigated with unerring certainty, darting through tangles of undergrowth, over fallen logs, and across babbling brooks. Alara followed, her senses heightened, every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl, every scent of the forest air, now imbued with new meaning, part of the living tapestry she was sworn to protect. As they walked, Alara tried to process everything. The elder spirits, the wellspring of Ethel, the insidious gloom, the 7 heart seeds. It was a monumental task, one that would take her far from her familiar glade. The crystal caves of Eridor. She had heard of them, of course. They lay far to the west, beyond the Shadow Peak Mountains, a journey of many days, perhaps even weeks, for a seasoned traveler. For a young girl who had rarely left the Elderwood's protective embrace, it was an immense undertaking. A flicker of doubt, cold and sharp, tried to worm its way into her mind. What if I fail? What if I'm not strong enough? I'm just a girl. And in ein Panos, now ohne Stanchianetti, kein Talent. But then Lumen, as if sensing her fleeting fear, paused and hovered directly in front of her face. It pulsed with a brighter, warmer light, and Alara felt a gentle, reassuring warmth spread through her chest. It was a silent communication, a promise of steadfast companionship, a reminder of the light within. The doubt receded, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. Kai won't fail, she vowed silently. Can't. Onan. Quante. They continued their journey through the night. The forest began to thin as they approached the eastern edge of the Elderwood, where the ancient trees gave way to rolling hills and sparse grasslands. The sky in the east was already hinting at the dawn, a faint blush of rose and lavender painting the horizon. As they emerged from the tree line, a vast panorama unfolded before them. The whispering lands stretched out, immense and beautiful, yet with a subtle pallor that Alara now recognized as the touch of the gloom. The distant mountains, jagged and dark, rose like sleeping giants, their peaks kissed by the first rays of the nascent sun. Lumen floated higher, pointing with a distinct beam of light towards the far western horizon, towards where the Shadow Peak Mountains would eventually loom. That was the direction of Eridor. Eridor, Alara murmured, her gaze fixed on the distant landscape. And here we come. She felt the cool morning breeze on her face, carrying the scent of dew and distant earth. It was a new day, and with it, a new chapter had begun. Her journey had only just started, and the path ahead was long and uncertain, but she was no longer alone, and her heart was filled with a purpose as vast and ancient as the Elderwood itself. She took her first steps out of the forest towards the rising sun, towards the immense task that awaited her, Lumen dancing like a tiny star shard at her side. The whispering lands called to her, and she answered. The tale of Alara, the chosen of the Elderwood, had truly begun. The tale of Alara, the chosen of the Elderwood, had truly begun. The first rays of the morning sun kissed Alara's face, not through a canopy of leaves but across an expanse of rolling hills dusted with dew. The air, crisp and cool, carried scents unfamiliar to her, wild thyme, dry earth, and a distant, almost metallic tang. No longer was she enveloped by the comforting embrace of the Elderwood's ancient boughs. Instead, a vast open sky stretched above her, a canvas of soft pinks and oranges that promised a new day, a new world. Lumen, a vibrant speck of starlight, danced around her, its glow a comforting presence against the immensity of the landscape. As Alara stepped out onto the dewy grass, the ground felt different beneath her bare feet, firmer, less yielding than the soft, mossy floor of the forest. A gentle breeze, carrying the faintest hint of a melody, rustled through the tall grasses, making them shimmer like liquid gold. The whispering lands Lumen pulsed, a thought song more than a voice, resonating directly in Alara's mind. They sing their stories to those who listen. Alara tried to listen. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply, letting the air fill her lungs. She could hear the rustle of the grass, the distant call of an unknown bird, the soft hum of insects waking with the sun. But beyond that, there was a subtle current, like a forgotten melody played on the edge of hearing, a feeling of myriad tiny voices, too soft to decipher, yet undeniably present. It was as if the very air vibrated with secrets. The first days of their journey, were a tapestry woven from wonder and bewilderment. The land changed with every turn of the path, from sun-drenched plains dotted with ancient gnarled trees, to gentle valleys where crystal-clear streams meandered, their waters murmuring secrets to the smooth stones. Elara learned to read the subtle signs of the open lands, the way a cluster of vibrant wildflowers marked a hidden spring, the direction of the wind as it carried the scent of distant rain, the shadow play of clouds across the hills that spoke of the day's passage. Lumen was her constant guide, a silent, flickering beacon. When Elara grew weary, Lumen would drift ahead, its light growing warmer, subtly urging her onward. When hunger gnawed, it would lead her to groves of berry bushes or patches of edible roots, its glow illuminating the ripest fruits. More than just a guide, Lumen was a companion, its silent presence a balm to Elara's solitude. Through Lumen, Elara began to understand the true nature of the whispering lands. The faint melodies she heard were indeed the land's own voice, the ancient memories of mountains, the dreams of sleeping rivers, the quiet joy of a blossoming flower, the sorrow of a fallen tree. Every stone, every blade of grass, held a fragment of a story, echoing through time. One afternoon, as the sun climbed to its zenith, casting long, sharp shadows, Elara and Lumen entered a narrow canyon. The air here was cooler, stiller, and the whispers, usually a gentle hum, seemed to recede, growing faint, then disappearing altogether. A prickle of unease traced its way down Elara's spine. The plants in this canyon were sparse, their leaves a dull, muted green, and the earth felt dry and brittle, almost dusty. Even the light seemed to lose its warmth, becoming flat and gray. "What is this place?" Elara whispered, her voice sounding unnaturally loud in the sudden quiet. Lumen pulsed sadly, its light dimming slightly. "This, Elara, is where the whispers have gone silent. This is the touch of the stillness." Elara reached out, her fingers brushing against a patch of withered moss clinging to a rock. It felt inert, lifeless. She closed her eyes, trying to reach out with her senses, as she had learned to do in the Elderwood, to feel the life force, the vibrant pulse of nature. But here, there was nothing. Only an aching void, a profound absence. It was as if the land itself was holding its breath, waiting or perhaps dying. A wave of sorrow, deep and primal, washed over her, a feeling not her own, but emanating from the very stones beneath her feet. "This is the task," Lumen's thought song came, weighted with the gravity of the revelation. "The whispering lands are slowly succumbing to the stillness. It is a creeping emptiness, a draining of the land's magic, its vitality. The whispers fade, and with them, the very life of this world. You, Elara, chosen of the Elderwood, carry the seed of restoration. You carry the pure song of life, the ancient magic that can reawaken what has been silenced." The immense weight of her purpose, which had been an abstract concept until now, settled upon Elara's shoulders with chilling clarity. It wasn't just about finding her way, it was about healing a world. The sorrow she felt was the land's plea, and it resonated deep within her, a call she could not ignore. "How do I fight something that is nothing?" Elara asked, her voice barely a whisper, gazing at the desolate landscape. Lumen drifted closer, its light brightening with renewed resolve. "You do not fight it with force, Elara. You fight it with life. You sing the song of creation where there is silence. But first, you must learn to truly hear. There are those who remember the days before the stillness spread so far, those who guarded the last pockets of vibrant magic. We must seek them out." For days, they trekked through the silenced canyon, Elara feeling the subtle drain on her own spirit, the oppressive quiet pressing in. She focused on Lumen's steady glow, on the memory of the Elderwood's vibrant life, trying to hold on to her purpose amidst the desolation. Finally, as the canyon walls began to recede, giving way to a more open rolling landscape, Elara saw a faint shimmer in the distance. "A shimmer of life," Lumen confirmed, its light pulsing with excitement. "A place where the whispers still hold strong." They walked towards it, Elara's hope rekindled. The shimmer resolved into a small secluded valley, tucked away between two towering, moss-covered hills. As they drew closer, the air grew noticeably warmer, carrying the sweet scent of blooming flowers and damp earth. A gentle breeze rustled through a grove of impossibly tall, slender trees, their leaves a vibrant, luminous green. And there, amidst the rustling leaves, Elara heard it again, the faint, beautiful symphony of whispers, clearer and more distinct than ever before. In the heart of the valley, nestled among the roots of a particularly ancient, broad-leafed tree, was a small, circular dwelling. It was crafted from woven branches, adorned with glowing fungi and shimmering moss, looking as if it had grown organically from the earth itself. Smoke, fragrant with herbs, curled lazily from a small opening in its roof. As they approached, a figure emerged from the dwelling. It was a being unlike any Elara had ever seen. Small in stature, no taller than her waist, with skin the color of rich loam and hair like tangled roots adorned with tiny, dew-kissed leaves. Their eyes, large and luminous, were the color of deep forest pools, and a gentle smile played on their wide lips. They wore garments woven from bark and leaves, and carried a staff twisted from a sapling, topped with a glowing crystal that pulsed in rhythm with the whispers of the valley. "Greetings, traveler," the being said, their voice a soft melodic hum, like the buzzing of a contented bee. "It has been many long seasons since a stranger graced the Whispering Haven, and you carry a most potent scent of ancient growth, a resonance of the elderwood itself." Lumen pulsed in greeting, flickering around Elara's head. "This is Elara," it conveyed, "chosen of the elderwood. Come to mend the silence. We seek your wisdom, keeper of the haven." The small being's luminous eyes widened, taking in Elara with an intensity that seemed to peer into her very soul. "The chosen indeed. I am Fimble, a humble guardian of this pocket of song. Come, child of the deep forest, you are weary, and your spirit carries the chill of the stillness. Share our warmth and tell us your tale." Fimble led Elara into the cozy dwelling. Inside, the air was warm and filled with the scent of herbs and freshly baked bread. Glowing fungi cast a soft ethereal light, illuminating shelves laden with strange roots, dried flowers and polished stones. Fimble offered Elara a steaming cup of amber-colored tea that tasted of honey and wildflowers, and a small, sweet pastry. As Elara ate and drank, she felt the chill of the silenced lands begin to recede, replaced by a gentle warmth that seeped into her bones. She recounted her journey from the heart of the elderwood, the calling she had felt, the gift of Lumen, and the profound sadness she had experienced in the silenced canyon. Fimble listened patiently, their luminous eyes never leaving Elara's face, occasionally nodding, a thoughtful hum rumbling in their chest. When Elara finished, Fimble sighed, a sound like dry leaves rustling. "The stillness," they murmured. "It is an ancient blight, Elara. It began as a slow forgetting, a neglect of the land's natural song. Mortals and even some of the older races, in their pursuit of power or comfort, ceased to listen to the whispers, to honor the balance. Over generations, the connections weakened, and where the song faded, the stillness crept in, like frost claiming a summer meadow." Fimble continued, their voice taking on a tone of deep reverence. "Our ancestors remember a time when the entire world sang. The whispers were loud and clear, guiding us, nourishing us. Now, only pockets remain, like embers in a vast dark hearth. We, the song weavers, as my folk are called, have dedicated our lives to tending these embers, keeping the song alive where we can." "But the elderwood," Elara interjected. "It is still vibrant, still strong." "Indeed," Fimble affirmed, "for it remembers the oldest songs, the very first melodies of creation. And you, Elara, carry a piece of that ancient memory. The elderwood has chosen you to carry its song, its pure life force, back into the silenced lands. You are a conduit, a vessel for the land's forgotten voice." "You are a conduit, a vessel for the land's forgotten voice. How can I do that?" Elara asked, feeling a renewed sense of inadequacy. "How can one person bring life back to so much silence?" Fimble smiled, a wise, knowing light in their eyes. "Not with grand gestures, child, but with gentle touches, with listening, with remembering. The stillness feeds on apathy and disconnection. You must reconnect, you must sing the ancient song, but it will take practice, and it will take patience, and it will take all the strength of your spirit." The next few days Elara stayed in the Whispering Haven, learning from Fimble. The songweavers taught her how to truly listen to the whispers, not just with her ears, but with her heart, her very soul. They showed her how to feel the flow of magic in living things, how to discern the subtle differences in the land's song, the joyous hum of a healthy tree, the struggling sigh of a parched bush, the mournful groan of a silent stone. Fimble led her to small patches within the haven that had been touched by the edges of the stillness, places where the whispers were faint, almost trembling. "Place your hands upon the earth," Fimble instructed, their voice soft. "Feel its pain. Then reach within yourself, Ilara. Feel the vibrant heart of the elderwood that beats within you. Let its song flow through you, not as a torrent, but as a gentle stream, a comforting melody." Ilara knelt, placing her palms flat against the cool earth. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. She felt the subtle chill of the stillness, the quiet yearning of the land. Then she reached inward, past her own doubts and fears, to the deep resonant connection she shared with the elderwood. She felt its immense ancient power, its boundless life. It was like a wellspring of pure, vibrant energy, a silent, powerful song. Slowly, carefully, she began to channel it, letting the energy flow from her, through her hands, into the earth. It was not a forceful act, but an offering, a gentle coaxing. She imagined the elderwood's roots intertwining with the silenced earth, sharing its strength, its memory of life. A warmth spread from her hands, radiating outward. She felt a faint tremor beneath her palms, a subtle shift. The whispers, which had been barely audible, grew a fraction stronger, like a hesitant breath. A single blade of grass, previously dull, deepened in color, a tiny, almost imperceptible shimmer of green. It was exhausting. When Ilara finally lifted her hands, she felt drained, but a profound sense of exhilaration coursed through her. She looked at Fimble, who nodded, a warm smile on their face. "A beautiful beginning, child," Fimble said. "A single note in the great symphony, but every symphony begins with one note. You have reminded this patch of earth of its own song. You have shown it that it is not forgotten." Ilara spent more days practicing, slowly growing stronger, more adept at channeling the elderwood's magic. With each attempt, the whispers grew a little clearer, the life she awakened a little more vibrant. She learned that the true power lay not in raw force, but in empathy, in connecting with the land's deepest needs, and offering it the healing song it had forgotten. As the time came for Ilara to continue her journey, Fimble presented her with a gift, a small, smooth stone, the color of moss after rain. "This is a whisper stone," Fimble explained. "It holds a fragment of the Haven's song. When the silence grows too heavy, or your spirit too weary, hold it. It will remind you of the life that still thrives, and guide you towards pockets of living song." Ilara tucked the stone carefully into a small pouch, feeling its gentle warmth against her skin. "Thank you, Fimble," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "For your wisdom, and for your hope." "Go now, Ilara," Fimble urged. "The whispering lands await your song. The stillness is vast, and many places cry out for healing. Follow the faint echoes, seek out the places where the silence is deepest, for those are the places that need you most." With a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of her abilities, Ilara and Lumen bid farewell to the Whispering Haven. As they departed, the valley's vibrant song seemed to swell, wishing her well on her journey. The gentle hum of the whisper stone in her pouch was a constant comfort, a reminder of the life she carried within her. They headed westward, towards a mountain range that shimmered faintly on the horizon, its peaks shrouded in a perpetual mist. Lumen's light pulsed with a new urgency, and Ilara, listening closely, began to perceive a faint, almost imperceptible wail, carried on the wind. A song of deep sorrow, echoing from the direction of the mountains. It was a cry for help, a desperate plea from a land in profound pain, and Ilara knew, with a certainty that resonated deep in her soul, that this was where her journey truly began to unfold. The immense task awaited, and she, with the elderwood's song in her heart and Lumen at her side, was ready to answer. The path to the mountains was not a clear one. It began as a winding trail through the fringe of the elderwood, where the trees, though still majestic, grew more gnarled, and their leaves held a deeper, almost melancholic hue. Soon, even these familiar giants gave way to sparser woods, their branches often snapped, their trunks scarred, as if lashed by unseen storms. The air grew colder, and the faint wail, once a whisper, now swelled and faded with the gusting winds, a mournful dirge that tugged at Ilara's spirit. Lumen, ever vigilant, floated a little ahead, his light casting dancing shadows that seemed to shy away from the growing gloom. "The sorrow grows heavier here," he chimed, his voice a soft bell in the stillness. "It touches the very roots of the earth. The plants, they wither even as they stand." Elara saw what he meant. Patches of moss, once vibrant green, were now brittle and gray. Wildflowers drooped, their petals shriveled before their time. The ground beneath their feet became rockier, the soil thin and dry, clinging precariously to the slopes. They walked for what felt like days, though the strange muted light of the blighted land made it hard to tell the passage of time. Elara relied on the sun's arc when it was visible through the increasingly cloudy sky, and the deep, instinctual rhythm of her body. During their journey, they encountered a few small, timid creatures, a gaunt fox with dull fur, a bird with broken wing feathers, its song a mere rasp. Elara, using the gentle magic she had learned from the Elderwood, managed to offer them small comforts, a burst of warmth for the fox, a whispered song of healing for the bird's wing, which, though not instantly restored, seemed to ease its pain. Each act of compassion, each moment of connection, fortified her resolve, and deepened her understanding of the suffering that permeated this place. The wail was not just a sound, it was an emanation, a psychic weight that pressed down on everything, leeching life and color from the world. As they ascended higher, the trees vanished altogether, replaced by jagged dark gray peaks that clawed at the sky. The wind howled through narrow passes, carrying with it a fine dust that stung Elara's eyes and coated her cloak. The wail was constant now, a deep, resonating hum in the very bones of the mountains, almost like a heartbeat in profound distress. It felt ancient, immense, and utterly alone. They found their way to a vast, bowl-shaped valley, ringed by the highest peaks. Here the desolation was absolute. The ground was cracked and barren, not a single plant daring to grow. The air was still and heavy, devoid of any scent save for a faint metallic tang. In the center of the valley, a colossal, crystalline structure jutted from the earth, a jagged spire of amethyst-hued rock, so tall its peak was lost in the swirling clouds. It pulsed with a dim internal light, and from its very heart emanated the mournful wail, now a deafening chorus of sorrow. "The Heartstone," Lumiman whispered, his light flickering nervously. "The mountain's soul, it is shattered." Elara gasped, taking in the sight. The crystalline spire, though magnificent, was indeed rent by deep, radiating fissures. Dark energy like frozen lightning pulsed within these cracks, and it was from these wounds that the terrible sound poured forth. It was not just a sound of pain, she realized, but of all grief. Unimaginable, age-old grief. As they approached the base of the Heartstone, the ground began to tremble. A vast crevice, previously hidden by the gloom, opened before them, leading into the mountain itself. From within, a cold wind rushed out, carrying with it the scent of ancient earth, and something else. Something akin to despair. "The heart spirit dwells within," Lumen explained, hovering anxiously. "It is the living consciousness of these mountains, and its essence is intertwined with the Heartstone. For millennia, it sustained this land, nurturing its life, shaping its peaks. But a great sorrow struck it, long, long ago. A betrayal, a loss. The specifics are lost to time, but the wound remained, slowly. Over centuries, the grief accumulated, the cracks spread, and now it threatens to shatter completely, taking now life from the sea's mountains, and Elara felt a profound ache in her own chest. To carry such sorrow for so long, it was unbearable. She reached out a hand, touching the cold, smooth surface of the Heartstone. Through her fingertips, she felt the vibrations of the wail, not just as sound, but as raw, unbridled emotion. It was overwhelming, threatening to crush her with its weight. "How do we help it?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper against the mournful roar. Lumen circled her head. "Oh, the Elderwood song," he said, his light growing steadier. "It is a song of life, of resilience, of interconnectedness. The heart spirit needs to hear that song. It needs to be reminded of the joy of existence, of the enduring beauty of the world, even in pain. But its grief is a shroud, thick and ancient. It will resist. You must sing with all your heart, Elara. You must pour the Elderwood's essence, the very life." Elara swallowed, her throat suddenly dry. The task seemed impossible. How could a mere girl, even one touched by the Elderwood, soothe such an ancient, monumental sorrow. But then, she remembered the Elderwood's whispers, the deep, resonant hum that had settled in her heart. It was not a grand, booming melody, but a gentle, persistent rhythm of life, of growth, of quiet strength. "I understand," she said, her voice gaining a surprising firmness. "It needs to remember its own song, the song of the mountain before the sorrow." She stepped towards the gaping crevice, the entrance to the heart spirit's sanctuary. Lumen sipped ahead, his light illuminating the rough, crystal-lined tunnel within. The air grew heavy, the wail intensified, pressing in on Elara's mind, tempting her to despair. But she pushed through it, focusing on the Elderwood's melody within her. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, a cathedral of shimmering crystals. The Heartstone's base plunged deep into the earth here, its fractured surface radiating a sickly purplish light. And at its core, swirling like a storm of dark mist, was the heart spirit itself. It was not a physical form, but a vortex of pure, concentrated grief, its tendrils reaching out, touching the cavern walls, causing smaller crystals to weep dust. The wail was a tangible force here, buffeting Elara, threatening to steal her breath. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. She closed her eyes, centering herself, letting the Elderwood song rise within her. It began as a faint hum, a gentle vibration in her chest, a soft counterpoint to the mountain's roar of pain. She focused on the warmth, the life, the quiet joy of the forest, the feeling of sunlight filtering through leaves, the rush of clear water, the silent dance of roots connecting beneath the earth. Then, she opened her mouth and began to sing. Her voice at first was small and reedy against the overwhelming sorrow. But it was true. It was pure. It carried the essence of the Elderwood, a melody woven from light and life and ancient wisdom. She sang of the resilience of the smallest seed, bursting forth from barren ground. She sang of the slow, patient growth of mountains, enduring through ages. She sang of the interconnectedness of all things, of how even in the deepest despair, there was always a thread of hope, a flicker of life waiting to ignite. The heart spirit, a swirling mass of shadowy anguish, seemed to recoil at first, its wail intensifying, trying to drown her out. The cavern trembled, loose crystals raining down around Elara. Lumen, sensing the danger, flared his light, creating a shimmering shield around her, absorbing some of the assault. Elara didn't falter. She poured more of herself into the song, her voice growing stronger, richer, imbued with a power she hadn't known she possessed. The Elderwood song resonated through her, a symphony of life pushing back against the cacophony of grief. She didn't try to fight the sorrow, she embraced it, acknowledging its depth, its validity. She sang into the sorrow, offering comfort, understanding, and the promise of renewal. She sang of the sun rising after the longest night, of the rain washing away dust, of new shoots pushing through ash. She sang of the mountain's own history, of its majestic peaks catching the first light of dawn, of its caves sheltering ancient creatures, of its rivers carving paths to the sea. She reminded the heart spirit of its own power, its own beauty, its fundamental purpose as a giver of life. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the swirling mass of grief began to shift. The edges of the shadow softened. The wail, while still present, began to lessen in its intensity, becoming less a scream and more a long, drawn-out sigh. The dark energy crackling within the Heartstone's fissures seemed to dim, replaced by a softer, more iridescent glow. Elara continued, her voice now a powerful conduit, a bridge between the living world and the ancient, wounded spirit. She felt the magic flowing through her, not draining her, but invigorating her, connecting her to the very pulse of life itself. Lumen's light pulsed in harmony with her song, amplifying her connection, helping her weave the Elderwood's magic into the very fabric of the heart spirit's being. Finally, as her song reached its crescendo, a note of pure, unwavering hope, the heart spirit began to coalesce. The dark mist thinned, revealing within it a faint, shimmering outline of a majestic, ancient being. Not human, not animal, but pure elemental energy, vast and compassionate. Its form was like the mountain itself, towering and serene. And though its eyes were still filled with the echoes of ancient pain, a new light, fragile but undeniable, began to shine within them. The wail faded, not with a sudden stop, but a gentle, prolonged diminuendo, like the last notes of a forgotten lullaby. A profound silence descended upon the cavern, broken only by the soft drip of water from crystal formations. Then, from the heart spirit, a new sound emerged. It was not a voice, but a deep, resonant hum, a vibration that resonated through the very stones of the mountain, a sound of immense relief and burgeoning peace. The cracks in the heartstone glowed with a soft golden light, and Alara watched in wonder as, slowly, miraculously, they began to mend, the jagged edges smoothing, the dark energy receding. Alara felt the connection, the gratitude, flowing from the heart spirit, a wave of profound thankfulness that filled her with warmth and peace. She felt a part of the mountain now, a tiny thread in its vast, intricate tapestry of life. Exhausted but exhilarated, she sank to her knees, her song finished, her heart overflowing. Lumen, his light now soft and steady, settled gently on her shoulder. "You did it, Alara," he chimed, his voice filled with awe. "You healed the heart spirit. You brought the Elderwood's song to the very heart of the mountains." They rested for a long time in the revitalized cavern, watching the heartstone's mending process. The air grew warmer, the oppressive chill replaced by a gentle, earthy fragrance. Smaller crystals within the cavern began to glow with vibrant colors, amethyst, emerald, sapphire, reflecting the renewed life within the mountain. When they finally emerged from the Heartstone sanctuary, the valley was transformed. The barren ground was no longer cracked and desolate. Tiny, tenacious shoots of green poked through the soil, a vibrant promise of life. The sky above, though still dramatic with swirling clouds, held patches of brilliant blue, and the sun, for the first time in their journey, shone down with warmth and clarity. A gentle breeze rustled through the nascent greenery, and Alara heard it then, a faint, almost imperceptible rustle of wings, a shy peep from a newly hatched bird. The silence of despair had been broken, replaced by the tentative whispers of returning life. Their journey back down the mountains was one of joyous discovery. The air grew sweeter with each descending step. Flowers, vibrant and colorful, bloomed in profusion where before there had been only rock. Water, clear and sparkling, trickled down newly formed streams, their soft gurgle a cheerful counterpoint to the wind. Animals, once timid and gaunt, now moved with renewed energy, their eyes bright, their fur sleek. The gaunt fox Alara had encountered earlier bounded past them, its tail bushy and alert, chasing a field mouse. The bird with the mended wing soared high above, singing a clear, melodious tune. Alara felt the mountains sing with her, a harmony of stone and water, wind and life, all woven into a grand, majestic chorus of renewal. The Elderwood's song within her had grown stronger, richer, intertwined now with the deep, resonant hum of the heart spirit. As they reached the edge of the Elderwood, the ancient trees greeted them with a chorus of rustling leaves, their branches swaying in a gentle, welcoming dance. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, of vibrant life and ancient magic. The Elderwood itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, its own colors deepening, its magic pulsating with renewed vigor. The ancient connection, broken by the mountain's sorrow, was now fully restored, flowing freely between the two great guardians of the land. Alara stood at the edge of the forest, looking back at the mountains. Their peaks, once dark and forbidding, now glowed with a soft ethereal light under the evening sun, a beacon of peace and enduring strength. The faint hum of the revitalized heart spirit resonated within her, a comforting reminder of the vast interconnected web of life she had touched and helped to heal. She had set out a simple girl, guided by instinct and a luminous companion. She returned a guardian, a bearer of the Elderwood's song, her heart filled with wisdom, compassion, and the quiet power of connection. Her journey had not ended, it had merely transformed. Now, she understood her place, not just as a dweller of the Elderwood, but as a tender of the world's fragile, beautiful balance. Lumen, a comforting glow beside her, chimed softly. "The world is a song, Alara, and you, my friend, have helped it remember its sweetest melody." Alara smiled, a deep sense of peace settling over her. The stars began to prickle the deepening twilight sky, shining down on a world made whole again. She knew she would always carry the Elderwood song in her heart, a gentle reminder that even the deepest sorrow could be healed with courage, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the power of life. And as she stepped back into the familiar embrace of the Elderwood, she knew that the truest magic lay not in grand spells, but in the quiet strength of a heart willing to listen, and a voice brave enough to sing. The world slept, cradled in the newfound harmony, and Ilara, her journey complete, was ready to rest, her own spirit singing with the quiet joy of a dream fulfilled.